Hello everybody, this is Gregory with How I Lost Over 100 Pounds and Kept It Off for 30 plus years, where there should be no hesitance in your weight loss and in your weight maintenance. Today we're going to start a two-part series on purging your house of things that might be undermining your weight loss. It's a three-part series. Today we're going to talk about your pantry. Now before we begin, if you need help with weight loss, contact me through the Clarity FM link found here in the episode notes. Also check out my website, Naturopathic Earth. There's a link in the episode notes. It has tons of recipes and articles that might be useful. Check out the podcast, The Awakened Man. It has around 400 episodes. And lastly, check out my books. And if you appreciate my content, hit the notification button, subscribe button, and like the video. All right. We talked about in a very early episode when this channel started about the importance of purging your house of junk. But I thought it'd be good to do kind of specific episodes on this. Every morning I drink green tea. I love matcha green tea. Love it. I drink it flat. So why is this important? Well, because there's a lot of things in your pantry that obviously are going to cause you to either gain weight or jeopardize your weight loss and your weight maintenance. Plus the toxins. You know, we can separate things that are bad for our diet from things that are bad for our health, but lots of times they're the same. Lots of times they're the same. So in this video, we're going to talk about both things that are obviously bad for your diet, but also obviously bad for your health. So when you open your pantry, what's the number one thing that allows that food to be in the pantry in the first place? Are those perishables or non-perishables? Those are non-perishables. Why don't they get bad? Because they're shot up with tons of preservatives that don't allow them to be bad. And we'll talk about this in the fridge. I mean, look at your milk. When does your milk expire now? In the old days when the milkman brought it, it was like a week. Now it's a month. So they're invading into the fridge for sure. But in the pantry, understand candy bars that you have in there were made a year ago. Potassium sorbate, potassium citrate. You see these preservatives. Just read at the back of anything that's non-organic. It's going to have these preservatives and other preservatives in them. So that's a problem themselves. Preservatives are bad. I mean, you look at coroners, morticians, my father, what he did, they would tell you that the body is decomposing at the slowest rate it's ever decomposed because we're shot up with so many preservatives that we've been eating throughout our whole life. It's a major problem. So you look in the pantry, all these foods in there can last forever, open, unopened, whatever. But let's look at the obvious ones. The middle aisle foods are jackpot for grocery stores. Why? Because they can mark up the price and they don't get bad. Convenience stores, they make tons of money. They don't make a lot of money off the gas. The profit margin off the gas is not a lot because of all the taxes you're taking away. But it's the stuff you buy inside. Because that stuff doesn't get bad. That honey bun, God knows, go to Confessions of an Obese Child. That honey bun is going to be there forever for fat kids like me to eat. But the middle aisle foods, they mark it up, they don't get bad. And of course, all of them are loaded with what? Sugar, fat, salt, the bliss point, to hit the bliss point. So what do you need to get out of your pantry? The obvious ones. Cheetos, chips. So let's look at chips. And if you want this really fleshed out, we have an early Awakened Man podcast. I think it's like number 4. I think it's the one I did with my co-host back then that we kind of tag team it. But chips. There's good chips and bad chips. The things about chips is that they're all fried in industrial grade vegetable oil. That's a problem. And most of them are made with corn, which is genetically modified. That's a problem too. Now you can buy organic chips, like blue corn chips. I'd probably tell you is the creme de la creme of conventional chips, potato or corn. But you look at the typical chips that the typical American has, a lot of typicals. It's going to be flavored with monosodium glutamate, which is an obesogen and an excitotoxin. So you look at anything that's flavored with cheese, sour cream, barbecue, whatever flavor, that's got sprayed with MSG. You don't think there's some dude in a factory, there's like a chip, a Pringle chip going down the conveyor belt and he drops a drop of barbecue sauce and it somehow gets diffused into the chip. No, it's all fake chemicals. So you got to get rid of all the chips because the chips are high in calorie, low in fiber, fried, which leads to trans fats clogging up your heart, and they have an obesogen and MSGs. So get rid of all the chips. If you have to have chips, make sure they're organic. I would tell you probably blue corn is the most nutrient dense. You can go to places like Whole Paycheck and get like plantain chips and lentil chips and all those. And typically those are going to be an upgrade, but you got to get off the typical conventional chips like Lay's and Cheetos and chili cheese Fritos, which was the bane of my fat existence. Cereals. Going back to chips, Cheetos shot up with food dyes, of course. Cereals, I mean, they're like piece de resistance of food dyes. Food dye. Cereals, tons of sugar, low in fiber. It's interesting how they even manipulate us, because typically a serving of cereal is a cup. That's been the traditional thing. But if you look at like Fruity Pebbles, Cocoa Puffs, look on the back. The serving size is now 3/4 of a cup. So really you're getting more calories than you traditionally think, because people don't look at the serving size and they know that. So you look at the cereals, most cereals, high in sugar, low in nutrition. Right? This is a running theme you see, high in sugar, low in nutrition. Plus they're shot up with food dyes and preservatives. And they have like 70 different types of corn syrup, corn sugar in there. Now, there are some cereals that are better than others. Watch out for the Mueslix and all this, because those are just shot up with tons of sugar too. You can buy Fiber One. I ate a lot of Fiber One when I was in Alaska. And All Brand, these have a lot of fiber, which is better. They don't have as much sugar, which is better. So if you have to have a cereal, I would probably do these fiber cereals, which most people don't like. Raisin Bran does have a lot of fiber, but it also has a lot of sugar. So again, just look on the back, find something that has a lot of fiber and low amount of sugar, and then you can augment it with low glycemic fruit like raspberries, blueberries, and so forth, or unripened bananas. But most cereals, if not all of them, could be thrown away because they're just frankenfoods. They're just frankenfoods. If God didn't make it, don't eat it. What else? Well, your pantry's probably gonna have your sodas. You gotta throw out every soda. There's no redeemable thing about sodas. They're Coca Cancer, again, food dyes. Caramel color is a food dye. And I mean, they're linked to bladder cancer, they're linked to cancer, they're linked to higher rates of kidney stones. There's no nutrition from them. Toss them. Your diet sodas, we'll have a separate episode on this later on. Toss them. Artificial sweeteners, highly toxic. Orange juices, grape juice, toss them, toss them, toss them. Pretty much toss everything that's in your pantry. You got Pop-Tarts, you got Hostess Ding Dongs, toss them. You got granola bars, toss them. You got Goldfish, toss them. Pretty much everything is crap. Now, what can you have in your pantry? Pretty much, if God didn't make it, don't eat it. That's what I would tell you. Have a paleo-esque diet. So, nuts. Now, with nuts, the best thing to do with nuts is you got to soak your nuts. You got to soak those nuts. Many nuts have phytic acid, which can be inflammatory to the body. And a lot of people don't know this. So they just eat the typical nuts that they get, like Planters. But with nuts, peanuts are the worst. They're not even a nut. If you're gonna eat nuts, I would tell you nutrient dense wise, macadamia, Brazil nuts are up there. Almonds are great. I eat a turmeric lace almonds because turmeric is anti-inflammatory. But the thing about nuts is most of them are roasted in rancid industrial grade vegetable oil, and they have tons of salt. But nuts are good for you if you eat a small amount, preferably raw, or seasoned well, like with turmeric. But most nuts, and we'll have a separate episode on this, most nuts you're gonna have to soak in a dehydrator to make it ideal. Okay, so you can have nuts. What else can you have in there? You can have dark chocolate. Now I like my chocolates cold, so I put them in the freezer. Dark chocolate's great, it's very high in phytonutrients, it's high in fiber, but again, with the dark chocolates, and we have a review of dark chocolate, we have a podcast episode of that and an article at Naturopathic Earth on this. In short, the dark chocolates have to be high percentage and not flavored with anything. So you have to buy the 90%, 95%, like Lindt has a nationwide brand, 95%, that's not flavored. The flavored ones like orange flavored, cherry flavored, that's just added sugar. Just look at the back. Compare a 90% Lindt box from a flavored one of Ghirardelli or any brand, you're gonna see there's like 3 times more sugar. So if you don't really like the bitter taste of dark chocolate, and I get it because when I was at college, I hated it. Work your way up. You know, get like M&M's, Dove, their dark chocolate is in fact like a 60%. There's tons of sugar in it still. But unlike milk chocolate, where cacao is the 3rd ingredient behind milk and sugar, if you buy a good dark chocolate brand, cacao is going to be the number one ingredient. That's what you want. So if you still have a sweet tooth, start at 60%, work your way up to, I would say, at least 85 to 90%. Can be in that. What else can you have in your pantry? I'm okay with rice. Some people don't like rice. Rice is essentially empty calories. But it's like one of those things where I talk about watch out for the Puritan, puritanical types. We say you can't have gluten, you can't have dairy. I mean, a life without rice, I think, would be difficult. If you're going to do rice, get the brown rice, long grain brown rice. Potatoes, fake potatoes, I'd toss those. Toss the rice-a-ronis, toss the macaroni and cheese, all the fake ones with MSG and food dyes. I would toss a large majority of those things out. So in your pantry, really the pantry should be like natural seasoning or natural condiment for stuff in your fridge, because again, you want to eat fresh food. You don't want to eat food that's been made 6 months ago, that's been shot up with preservatives. So your pantry honestly should be sparse. You can have your coffee in there, you can have tea. We'll have future episodes about the benefits of coffee and tea, because you should drink them. Of course, you know, there's going to be provisos to that, but you should drink coffee and tea. You can have that in there. And of course, there's going to be some other things that I'm missing that you should have. But again, the short thing is, if God didn't make it, don't eat it, or don't eat it that often. And we can include wine here. So since wine's not really refrigerated unless it's white, I'm okay with red wine, white wine, a couple of glasses a month. We have an episode here, you should purge yourself of alcohol. I would not be drinking beer or anything that's flavored, but once in a while, if you want to have a glass of wine, I think that's totally fine, and you should do that. But really, your pantry should be pretty sparse. Guys, post in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. Post in the comments if you have questions about other stuff that I might be forgetting. But in short, if it's packaged, it's processed. And if it's processed, it's not good for your weight loss journey and overall health. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.